Hey everyone, it's that time of year. We are 1 month away from the end of a GOA semester, and I'm sure that those of you who are teaching spring courses are thinking a lot about the end and what that's going to look like. So, for this edition of Friday Shares, I thought I would do a deep dive into one example, one final project where I'm going to walk you through the project from beginning to end and hopefully give you some ideas about ways to structure and plan out the final weeks of your course. The victim this week is Douglas, who teaches our iOS app development course, and his final project is, somewhat logically, to build your own app. And I'm going to highlight two things that Douglas does very well. One is great instructions that anticipate all different kinds of students' needs. And two, the power of examples, especially visuals, when helping students learn and understand what to do in a final project. Let's take a look. Douglas begins the final project process in week 9, so he starts early, and the process begins with an app proposal. And you can see here that students are meant to submit this proposal in the middle of week 9. The proposal is really an essay, and this is a collaborative team project where students are going to work in teams to build this app together. And so Douglas wants this essay to explore the students' understanding of the process, but also give a clear picture of what their app's going to look like. What I like about these instructions is Douglas focuses not just on content, but on process. Here are some instructions about what he wants for the essay on the app, but then here are some instructions about how the students are to submit it. No more than 1,000 words, submit it as a PDF. This is really going to smooth the process out for both the students and Douglas. It's going to avoid confusion and it's going to allow feedback and conversation to happen more quickly. Notice also that Douglas is being very concise but very concrete. There's only 4 steps to this process, but he is trying to be very clear about what he wants from each student: an essay, a usable prototype, and a name for the app. Below the instructions, Douglas provides 2 important resources for students. The first is a video which explains how to use the tool he would like the students to use to prototype or storyboard their app. The second is a visual example of what a prototype might look like, and I think that this is really important, especially when students are doing something for the first time, using technology or participating in some thinking that's new to them. These sort of visual cues can be really helpful in thinking about a project. Douglas goes on to include lots of resources around thinking about the kinds of apps that students might want to use, what are some best practices in app design. So from the very beginning, the students have a library of tools, some created by Douglas, some curated from the internet, that allow them to really think about, in a detailed way, what they want their app to look like. Douglas is anticipating the students' needs before they begin the project. The other thing I really like about this project is Douglas's focus on process. On the left, as a subpage of week 9, he's included this page called Treasure Chest. On this page, Douglas has included 2 sort of journal activities he wants the students to be doing throughout the project. The first, here on the right, is a record of thinking. At least once a week, the students are to submit entries to a wiki project in which they are thinking about and reflecting on 4 different criteria: their team goals, personal goals, sharing and feedback, and evidence for their success. And so this is really a kind of metacognitive activity where the students are meant to be setting some goals for themselves based on their experience in the project so far. It's very much like the action research stuff that Jake is asking you to do in faculty meetings. The other thing Douglas wants his students to do is submit a work log. These are just quick bulleted lists of what the students did and how long it took them. And he gives great examples of this: a good one, and then a general one, and one that's too specific. So Douglas is being very, very clear and very, very structured in the kind of documentation he wants the students to be doing throughout the process. Finally, in the last page of the project, Douglas is again reminding the students in the actual page dedicated to the project about the tasks that they need to do: work logs, records of thinking. He's including screenshots of examples of what work logs might look like when they're submitted to a wiki project, and he's including screenshots of what records of thinking might look like when they're submitted to a wiki project. In addition, he includes lots of exemplars. Here are some examples of a great record of thinking entry. Here's another one that's a great record of thinking entry. Here's a video that's a great example of a record of thinking entry. So one thing I hope you're noticing here is that Douglas is spending most of his time here not talking about the app that these kids are going to be developing, but talking about the process. And this sort of using the real estate of your online course to demonstrate emphasis is a great technique. The kids are seeing over and over and over again that Douglas is really interested in careful, detailed thinking about the process, and the product will come as a result of that. And I think that's an important tip to think about when you're designing your own project. So just to summarize, I would say really think carefully about the process of your project as you plan it. Write out great instructions that provide not just for content, but also process. How do you want it to go in terms of submission of different steps? And use examples. Think a lot about great examples that you can provide the students, and think about visual ways that you can give them cues for their learning. Thanks, everybody. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great weekend.